Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out People of Reddit. Story 1. Make me wait, now it's your turn. Many years ago I was job hunting, which is a colossal pain as many of you know, and after months of searching, I finally landed an office job. Soon after starting that job, which was a big advancement for me, I heard back from another office job I'd applied to, which was not quite as good, but I was a little confused because they'd replied to my application 93 days after I first applied. The petty revenge? I marked my calendar 93 days out from that date so I could remember to send an email letting them down easy, tell them I wasn't interested. Story 2. Make my life difficult for nearly a decade. It'll make you look like an idiot. When I first left home to go to university, my parents co-signed a mortgage for me on an apartment-style condominium in a small Canadian city. This was 20 years ago, so it came in at a whopping $52,000. They thought that this was a much better and economical choice than trying to find an apartment and deal with landlords. I loved the idea and moved into my new home. The building was almost entirely populated by the 65-plus crowd. It was small and only had 24 units split into two halves. I had a basement condo. It was a nice place, nothing fancy, but amazing for a student. I was young, 19, but I was quiet, kept to myself and didn't do the whole party thing. I got along with most of my neighbors. I'd help them out moving heavy things or carrying groceries upstairs. I was acutely aware of the age gap and the general image of a university student, so I made sure to be just an all-around great guy to avoid conflict. The one person I could never see eye to eye with was my upstairs neighbor. For a 70-year-old woman that couldn't have weighed more than 100 pounds, she walked like a damned elephant. She'd have gospel music on her TV at max volume at 5 a.m. on Sundays. She'd make remarks about that damn kid whenever something was left out of place. She even went so far as to accusing me of breaking into her car and making a police statement saying she saw me do it. Unfortunately for her, I was out of the country on an internship at the time, but still she persisted being a pain in my ass. I'd tried to approach her about the TV issue, and her response was to make sure that it was no longer just Sunday. After a couple of years of attempted diplomacy, it was clear that nothing I did would make things better. Others in the building probably knew she had it out for me, but why would this adorable little old lady try to lie and get me thrown out of the building by the condo board? She tried at least 11 times while I lived there. 7 years into my time living there, I was at my job with an ambulance service just north of the city. I got called to a shooting. Guy shot his neighbor in a land dispute. The neighbor survived, but there was of course going to be a police investigation. The investigating officers called me to get a statement and offered to just come over to do it, rather than have me travel. One of them was a constable I'd worked with quite a bit, so I said sure. We set a time for about an hour after I'd get home from work. I was just getting out of the shower when they buzzed to get into the building. I said, "Come in, I'll be out in a second." I hit the door buzzer and quickly grabbed some pants and a shirt. I heard them come in, and then walk upstairs. As I'm trying to throw on clothes, I hear them knock on my upstairs neighbor's door. They introduce themselves as being from RCMP Major Crimes Division and that they were looking for me. Balls. She says, "Oh, he lives downstairs, what do you want with him?" They thanked her and informed her that they couldn't say, as it was an active investigation. My heart sank, but then I had a thought. It only took about 15 minutes to do my statement and they went on their way. And then the fun began. I knew the rumor mill would be starting. She would tell everyone that would listen that Major Crimes was looking for me and that I must be some sort of criminal. I decided to see where this went. Pretty soon I'm getting side-eye in the hallway, neighbors are steering clear of me, so I know she's been talking. Turns out I've been arrested for robbery and kidnapping and must be out on bail according to her. I found this out when one of my neighbors who was on the condo board showed up with a letter demanding an explanation and threats to have me kicked out. I asked him what this was all about, and he said, "Well, Linda, not her name, sent us a letter about what had happened and we had to have an emergency board meeting because people don't feel safe with you here. I said that per the bylaws of the condo board, before any action could be taken, I could request a meeting to review and provide a defense. Linda was on the board, so I know she'd be there. They set a date for a week from then, but I was given a caution that it didn't look good for me and that I would have to do a lot of explaining. The meeting day comes. Linda is sitting smugly looking at me, the other board members are giving me dirty looks. The board president asks what I have to say in my defense. I stand and quietly distribute a letter on RCMP letterhead, signed by the regional superintendent that says Mr. Zenmatic is not under suspicion of any crimes, past or current, and has not been arrested, detained, or questioned as a suspect in any criminal matter. His duties as a paramedic will often require him to make statements in regards to ongoing investigations, and in this instance on date, investigators had gone to obtain a statement about an ongoing investigation for which he was professionally involved. At no time did the members discuss, disclose, or in any way indicate that he had any involvement in any wrongdoings. I am deeply saddened by the necessity of this letter, and we will be reopening an investigation into a previous incident regarding false statements made against him. You could tell when people read and understood it. The dirty looks shifted from me to Linda. She exclaimed that it must be a forgery. She witnessed me being led off in handcuffs. She pleaded that they should believe her. It didn't help her. I stood and addressed the board and outlined the years of abuse and harassment, including the false accusation of break and enter to a vehicle. I informed the board that on advice of my lawyer that I do not discuss the matter further with any member of the board, as Linda being part of it and using her position for the purposes of harassment opened the board as a whole to litigation, and I was still weighing my options. The next day I had a knock on my door. The board president had informed me that Linda was removed from the board and that she was given warning about her conduct and that any further harassment could result in proceedings to have her removed from the building. She also had a visit from police with a summons for providing a false statement and obstructing a peace officer. She had to attend court. She pled guilty to both and was given a suspended sentence and 1-year condition not to harass, threaten, or intentionally inconvenience me in any way. If she abided her conditions, she would receive an absolute discharge, meaning it would be removed from her record, like it never happened. I moved to another province before her year was up, but for a brief period of time, I actually got to sleep in on Sunday mornings. Story 3. I hate my entitled neighbor. Neighbor is a lazy POS, has 6 cars and a 70 driveway and only parks his daily driver on the driveway, which he washes and polishes every weekend. The rest are in front of other people's houses. My lawn parallels his driveway and of course I have sprinklers along the edge of my lawn. Recently I had wondered why my lawn is not doing well and noticed that he had run over 3 of my sprinkler heads. I fixed them, grumbled about it but moved on. A week later, it was 2 heads were broken. This past weekend, I found 2 broken again and the pipe busted as well. I could see his tire tracks coming off his driveway and over my lawn. So, I put in new sprinklers again, but instead of 180-degree sprinklers, I put in 360s. He may still run them over, but at least at 11 p.m. every night, his passenger side will get blasted for 7 minutes. Asterisk note, we have extremely hard water, so the level of spots on his car will take lots of time to sort out. Story 4. Go through my phone and expose some secrets to my friends. Enjoy your emails. For context, I, 19M, known Carl, 19M, for around 2 years. We were friends but we didn't often get along. It all came ahead when I was driving him and 3 friends around. Since it was my car, I had my phone connected via Bluetooth and he offered to control music for the drive. One thing about me that I hid from them extremely well was that for a couple months, I would cosplay as my own robot character and sometimes post it on Instagram and TikTok. I mainly did it for fun but I still post every month or 2. Back to the story, Carl proceeded to snoop through my phone trying to find my search history, recently deleted photos, my Snapchat DMs, as well as my cosplay account. And that isn't even the worst part. he showed it to two of my friend who were in the back as well. The only way I knew was when Carl called me by my cosplay name and I was instantly embarrassed and fearful. I questioned Matt who was in the back seat with him if he was the one, and he as well as the other friend from the back seat named Ash who admitted that it was Carl that had gone through my phone. Now Ash, Mark, and my other friend who was in the front seat Jake all don't have a problem with the account, and Ash even finds it a little bit funny. To say I pissed was an understatement. I was thinking of ways to get back at him, but I got an idea. Ash has been friends with Carl way longer than me, so when he said that he had Carl's email, so that night I signed his email up for everything he hated. Some examples are: liberal campaign emails list, he's a conservative. Furry and LGBTQ email list, he's extremely homophonic, hate furries. Bud Light email list, hates it due to the recent controversy. A rival sports team newsletter. Adam and Eve catalog, e-kick. Gay adult videos websites. So far I haven't seen Carl, but I will keep you updated when I see him. Update 1. When he was going through my phone while I was driving, I didn't know what he was doing until we got out of the vehicle. 2. I were only friends with Carl cause he didn't know anyone else and he would literally beg me and others to hang out or invite him. 3. I didn't know that Carl was homophonic until I saw some of his social media posts. 4. Yes, I am aware that my two friends that were in the back with Carl didn't tell me, but mainly due to them being slightly drunk and had been partying all day. 5. Yet I will be cutting contact with Carl. Update 2. A few days ago I got a DM from someone who said I should put his phone number on random people's cars for various reasons. He ended up calling me a couple hours later asking WTF was going on. I admitted it to him cause of what he did, and he tried throwing Matt under the bus by saying Matt grabbed my phone out of his hands. I asked Matt about it and he had solid evidence of it being Carl. Later that night Carl finally grew a pair and admitted it was him. One more thing, when I was signing him up to a furry website, it asked for a fursona name. Now I could have went with his regular nickname, but I chose the nickname Maverick and have been calling him that ever since. When he asked me about the sudden nickname, I told him he reminded me of Pete Mitchell from Top Gun, whose call sign was Maverick. No, he thinks it means he's some badass when in reality it is his furry name. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.